Hello all, and welcome to Walking the Weird. My name is Tyler, and as always with me,
It's Sean, guys. How you guys doing?
and apparently he's brought us a nice wholesome family tale.
So, it's one that's been done like to death, literally. It's the Amityville Horror, the story about the DeFeo family, and pretty much all the series of events that happened from the start of that murder to what we have now as a shitty
I was
film
just gonna
franchise.
say, it's really not about the DeFeo family.
It's really
That's kind
not
of the problem.
It's really not. It's actually about the people who moved in afterwards. But
No one gives a shit about them.
we'll get
I'm
into
sorry.
that. They don't, and it's sad because there's a bunch of theories. Like, I want to focus on like the murder theories for a second after we get through the story, and then I'm gonna give you a time to do like a brief questionnaire because I know that there's a lot of misinformation and misconception with this particular case, so it's always good to go about that. But so the story of the Amityville Horror starts. I'm just gonna go straight into the murder around 6:30 p.m. on November 13th, 1974. DeFeo, who was 23 at that time. His name was actually they called him Butch. His name was Ronald DeFeo, who was 23 at the time. Entered Henry's Bar in Amityville, Long Island, New York, and declared that he needed help. I think my mother and father were shot. DeFeo and a small group of people went to 112 Ocean Avenue. Yes, that's where Yellow Card got their song from. They went to that street, which was located near the bar, and found that DeFeo's parents were dead inside of the house, along with the rest of the family members of the DeFeo family. Yes, I'm reading.
no, it's fine. I just so if they could find them now, things would be better.
I hate you. Get out of this podcast. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. I fucking can't stand you. God damn it. And I didn't even fall for you. Oh, I hate you. Yes, if they could find them now, things would be better. Anyway, the victims were Ronald Jr.'s parents. God damn it. Ronald DeFeo. Have respect for the dead family that no one cares about.
Hey, if no one else does, I don't have to either.
That no one cares about. Damn. So Ronald DeFeo Sr. and Luis DeFeo, and then his four siblings: Dawn DeFeo, which we'll get into her in a little bit, Allison DeFeo, and then Mark DeFeo, and then finally John DeFeo. All of the victims were shot with a .35 caliber lever action Marlin 336 rifle, 336C, and they were shot around 3 a.m. That day, the children had been killed by single shots. And basically, the children had been killed by single shots while the parents had each received 2 shots. Physical evidence suggests that Luis DeFeo and her daughter, Allison, were awake at the time of their deaths. According to Suffolk County Police, who was in charge of the investigation, all of the victims were found lying face down in bed. The DeFeo family had occupied 112 Ocean Avenue since purchasing the house in 1965. The 6 victims were later buried in the St. Charles Cemetery nearby Farmingdale. Ronald DeFeo, the guy, our main guy, known as Butch, was the eldest child of the family, and he's the only one that had the story until he was killed, or until he died. I'm sorry, and he was the only one that could finish the story, or pretty much what really happened to the Amityville Horror.
I just have a quick question. When are you gonna get to the demons?
After this part, give me a minute. So after this, yeah, he basically, I guess, tolerated a 12.5-hour interrogation where he finally gave up and confessed that he had killed his family. He had said that he killed his family originally, and he had no reason why. He just did. He cleaned out the casings, did everything that he normally did before he went off to work, and then when he went off to work, he was just gone. And then he came back and said, "Hey, by the way, someone shot my family." Now, he was booked. He changed his story like 86 bajillion times. His lawyer, I believe I have his name here. Let me see if I can find his name here. Actually, I might have it in. Well, I'll do that later. His name was Weber. His last name was Weber. So he was the attorney for DeFeo. He becomes a little bit more important a little later. And I'll let you guys know why, because it starts with the whole demon stuff, which is where you wanted to go. So he was convicted, and then he eventually ended up dying. I can't remember exactly what he died from, but he ended up having his parole and his appeal denied multiple times, and he just ended up dying in jail. He ended up serving 25 years, second-degree murder. Again, his his fucking shit, his story, his base story changed like 18 times. What questions do you have, Tyler? So that's the end of the actual murder of these people.
My questions all have to deal like
with it afterwards.
Not just that, but I've heard so many different stories, and I know there's one you're gonna get into.
Yeah, with the conspiracy theory with one of the daughters.
Yeah, and I've heard that, and up until today, I actually thought it was a separate case. I didn't know it was this one because, and I guess we should just go into it. The crime itself and afterwards, they're separate things.
Yeah, like, the crime is not really remembered as much, except for like fanatics like me who have nothing to do while they're taking a shit. Except
I was being like facetious because no one cares.
Yeah, no one.
The entire
really
family died. No one gives a shit.
Yeah,
and
the story that Tyler's talking about, where the demonic entities, you start seeing the paranormal stuff, happened with George Lutz and Kathleen Lutz, the people who bought the house shortly after the Amityville.
Because they got it for like really, really cheap because no one wanted it.
Well, also everything was there, dude. Wait,
all their stuff was there.
All the stuff from the family that died was there. The only thing that was missing was the fucking mattresses because they had blood on them. But there was like blood smears on the walls. There was like all that shit. It's like, bro, what kind of real estate did you have, dog? Like, what agent didn't prop that shit up? It's just cherry sauce.
Didn't even put like a one of those like shitty picture frames.
Like not even like a slippery when wet, bro. Yeah. Give me something.
Just don't look at this wall.
Just don't look at this wall. It's not important. It's an accent wall. We tried to splatter. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Move on.
We paintballed in here. It's fine.
But yeah, no. Like when they moved in to this house already like this, like already fucked up, already having all this shit, and then the Lutzes were convinced that there was some type of spiritual activity happening. Now, when I mean convinced is that George Lutz had a few encounters where he heard a few voices, where he'd seen a few things move, stuff like that. He had commented that he had heard voices that were kind of like evil in a way.
That's just called kids.
That just called schizophrenia, bro. Here's a shout out to you, dog. Anyway,
I want water. Oh, it's a demon. No, it's your daughter.
It's a demon. No, she's starving to death, bro. Come on. No, but she was like, or he was like, hey, this is what's going on, whatever, right? So he was convinced, and he finally reached out to the famous couple, Ed and Lorraine Warren. So when they reached out to them, they were trying to debunk, well, not really debunk, but they were trying to get information about the case and everything. And George Lutz was completely like off-putting to Ed Warren.
Did it kind of say in like what way? Like he was just like a jerk or?
No, like Ed would be like, okay, well, give me something that's tangible and everything, and he'd be like, well, yeah, stuff and shit.
Oh, so it wasn't like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know. It was like, I don't have to tell you. I have to show you.
Almost kind of like sketchy. Like, oh, why don't you believe me right up the?
That's different because if it's
right.
Like, oh, I don't know I don't know how to help you. I don't know. That's different. But if he's acting like that, yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with that either.
And Ed is like from what people think that the Warrens were just going around poking their nose in everybody's business. Like according to what documents and records for the Amityville horror and a few of the other cases, that the Warrens actually made it like a requirement. Like they had to interrogate you pretty much. Like, hey, do you do drugs? Do you do this? Do you do that? Do you see this? Hey, do you suffer from anything like this? Did your family suffer from any type of history of hallucination? Shit like that. And this guy was very reluctant to answer. So Ed said, we're not getting anywhere near that house until you give us something of concrete evidence.
Because why wouldn't, if you did have that, like the history of hallucinations, the drug use, all that, just tell him.
Right.
And then he'd be like, oh, okay, have you had this before? No. Can you go to the doctors and get this checked out? Because if you're all clear, that's actually a good sign. That's evidence.
Or even not. If he's like, oh, you're sick and you're aware of this? Okay, perfect. Let's go set up. Let's figure out if it's in your head or if it's this.
You're telling the truth. You're telling a hard truth about yourself. And that makes you more believable.
And not just that. Like, the Warrens weren't known for just traveling by themselves, bro. They brought like a film crew who was all skeptical. They had sometimes they'd have medical officers, police officers. They had like a bunch of people as well. And I'm not trying to give credibility to to the Warrens, I'm sure there was a lot of shit that they probably did that was underhanded or exaggerated or whatever, but that's their own things. What I'm saying is that in this particular case, it was very, very noted that Ed and Lorraine were very like, I'm not sure if this is credible. You know what I mean? They thought it was
just them leaving so suddenly, the things they said that happened, people being what. Isn't it that they got thrown across the room or like they got dragged?
No, that's in The Conjuring. That's not in this.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually a good subject to bring up. What happened? Because I'm kind of the layman with this one.
With Amityville or Conjuring?
With Amityville, because I'm kind of the everyman. If I'm able to get them mixed up that easily, and I like this stuff, then the normal person, they won't know what actually happened and what didn't.
So, the guy who wrote the book, Jay Anson, he was the guy who got the story from Weber, who was the guy who defended DeFeo. He got it from DeFeo and the Lutz, from the experiences of the Lutz, and then pretty much attached DeFeo to it and said, oh, it's because the evil spirit, whatever, right? So the demons,
devil made me do it.
No, maybe not even the devil made me do it, but it's kind of like one of those, like the house is haunted. Yeah, the house is haunted or has an evil presence. According to the recountings of Jay Anson, the Lutz experienced everything moving. Like all the plates would randomly be shattered, all the chairs would randomly move. Their dog eventually hung himself. Like he was leashed and he jumped over the fence and hung himself, according to that. However, documents by the people who worked with Ed and Lorraine Warren were like, yeah, that never happened. We never heard that. He was talking about voices and all that stuff, not really any real apparitions. So you start seeing where Hollywood or these guys wrote the story for like
that sounds
for money,
like a horror book.
Right? Exactly. The dog killed himself with a fucking harness, bro. Stop. You know what I mean? Like,
and if you and going even a little beyond them leaving, everyone else who's been in the house has had nothing happen.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people thought, that maybe that George Lutz was a little, not cuckoo or like he was fucked up, but that he had some history of mental issues. And they were skeptics at the very beginning, and then all of a sudden they abandoned the house. Now, when they abandoned the house, that's when Ed and Lorraine were like, hey bro, let's go check this out. It's very weird. And then you get the famous Amityville horror fucking picture where it shows a little boy looking over the railing.
With like the white
white eyes. Before and I know I keep interrupting Tyler about questions and stuff. There's a little bit more to that story. When you go back and look at that document and those pictures, they were in a folder with Ed and Lorraine that was kind of casted aside, like they had not touched it for a while. And one of the secretaries was like, "Hey, look at this picture. It's creepy." But there's documentation where even Ed and Lorraine were like, "Yeah, this is one of the guys that was with us. He was probably looking at a cable or something while he was kneeling down on the ground, and he saw the flash go off and he looked over." It's like it wasn't like a boy. Like you can clearly tell that picture has features of a man. Like it's a grown male, and that you can visibly see him like crouching.
Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's 100%. It's an entity. It's
a ghost. Okay.
All right. Let's go down that road.
The fact that the ghost looks nothing like any of the members of the family, but whatever.
But it's no.
It really doesn't. It looks like none of them.
Even more, there is an entity there.
The entity has blonde hair. The fucking children had black hair.
So,
whatever though.
So no one has had experiences besides these people.
According to records,
DeFeos didn't have any. There's no records of them having any, except for supposedly the husband when he killed them all.
No, the husband didn't kill them all. It was the son.
The son.
It was the son. The husband thing came from the exaggerated story of the Amityville Horror when it became a film franchise where they had said that George Lutz got possessed and he fucking killed his family.
Okay,
he didn't kill his family.
That's a
misconception.
Because I didn't. I'm learning that right now.
So many people think that so many families have died in the Amityville house because every owner, according to them, has done that. No, only the Lutzes, and they didn't even get violent. It was just voices and shit that they heard, and it could have been George Lutz because Kathleen divorced him shortly afterwards.
Well, I want to correct you. It wasn't the Lutzes. It was the DeFeos who got violent. Everyone else, they left.
It wasn't even the DeFeos that got violent. It was just the son.
It was just one.
It was just the son.
one.
It was just the son, and people were like, "Oh, the DeFeo son. He wrote the Amityville book. He did not write the Amityville book. He didn't want anything to do with it. He had told people so much. I have my own problems already, bro. I don't got to deal with this shit."
And the whole the dark like specter thing that he apparently saw, is that that's where it comes from, the demon thing, right? Where he's like on the couch and.
So let's back up. That's the theory on the murders. We'll get to that in just a second.
Okay,
but that does fall into the demon thing.
I think that's the origination of all of it. I think that theory
led to this whole spiral.
Yeah, I think it's all.
I agree. Yeah. So again, these guys, Weber and Anson, got together, wrote this book, did all that. Weber even advised DeFeo to join up with Hans. Was it Holzer?
Gruber?
No, not Gruber. Hans. I believe his name was Holzer, whatever. Okay. And he was also doing films and horror films at the time, so he wanted to partner up with him and do a horror film, and then that's when he made that quote, like, "I've got enough problems." But yeah, pretty much everything that you read in those books is a bunch of bullshit. A lot of those films are a bunch of bullshit. The only evidence that we have of any paranormal was the Lutz's case that was severely over exaggerated to the point where even Ed and Lorraine were like, "Yeah, I don't think so." But whatever. It still goes down as one of the most haunted things or haunted places or whatever. For whatever reason, I don't know.
It goes down as one of the most haunted places where no one says
no one's ever happened.
Yeah.
And by the way, 112 Ocean Avenue has now been readdressed, so that way nobody visits the house. The house still stands in the same place.
And it's been remodeled.
Yeah, and it's been remodeled and everything like that.
And still, nothing's happened.
Hilarious about the remodeling. Everybody who has been in there, there's been psychics who have pretended to be the daughters or who have said, "Oh, we're manifesting Allison or manifesting the other daughter or the mom." And they're walking around the place and like, "This is where they used to hang out, and this is where they used to hang out, and they did this, they did this."
And it was just a wall.
Hang on. And then they came back, and then the owners would be like, "Yeah, we just put in that room like 3 days ago." And they'd be like, "Yeah, we just put in that wall like a minute ago. Like that hasn't been there." They were talking about showing signs and markings of where they grew, and when what is it? There was specific interviews with DeFeo where he specifically says that his parents didn't keep track of their height. Like they specifically do that.
But it was the demons.
It was the demons, right?
The demons were making him say that.
Yeah. Yes. But oh, and that kind of goes with the whole hubbub of the movie and all that stuff. It's all fake, pretty much, or it's been debunked numerous times. Did the Lutzes experience something? I don't know. I personally think that the Lutzes maybe. I think that fucking George Lutz was probably a little bit of a nuts, but you know, that's not my.
That would make the divorce make sense. He does all this
because literally right afterwards he got a divorce.
Publicity stuff.
Yeah.
And then she's probably like, "You're fucking crazy."
Wait, hang on. Not publicity stuff. They didn't have publicity stuff until after they abandoned it, and it wasn't even them. It was the house that got publicity because George was just. According to George, or according to the records, George was genuinely trying to figure out what the fuck was happening because he genuinely thought there was something going on. So when they vacated the house, it was kind of like, "Hey, I'm done being here," and then that's when the Warrens went in and kind of did their own investigation.
Dude,
and
that's
shit.
what they needed. The DeLorean.
The DeLorean.
Just roll up.
No, but with your
I'm sorry, I have to.
No, you're
this is a tangent. If I ever called like ghost hunters and they rolled up in a Ghostbusters car, I'm believing them 100%. I'm like, all right.
If I drive into a town and I see the mystery machine and the Ghostbuster vehicle, I'm turning around. I'm like, yeah, no, this place is gone. This place is gone. No, let's go back real quick to what you were saying about the origination of all the demonic shit. So So what?
A hoodie.
A hoodie. Hang on. We're going to go into the conspiracy theories of the murder itself.
Mm-hmm.
So now, the murder itself, there was a bunch of conspiracies because the DeFeo family, obviously you can hear DeFeo, you know where they're coming from. They're Italian, and they had ties to the mob. A lot of people believed that for a while, and it was kind of been a rumor until they got a report of a DEA agent. The DEA agent kind of opened a little bit of new light, but DeFeo's dead, so it doesn't matter anymore. I'll release what the DEA agent said in just a little bit. I just kind of wanted to go through this theory. The theory was that one of the theories showed that they had an issue internally with the mob that was going on. The daughter Dawn was completely done and over this shit. She was also a low-key drug addict. A bunch of shit was going on, but she also had tendencies of sociopathy, like from very little. Like there was hospitals, there was clinics, there was all that stuff, all documentation that showed that, right? So the idea was that night that DeFeo, the main guy, Butch, that he killed his family, he was on heroin. If y'all remember the Kurt Cobain tragedy, there's only a certain amount of heroin you can do before you can no longer blow off your head. And he had at least gotten close to that threshold, right?
To where you're not really moving anymore.
Yeah, you're not really moving.
Like you can't. You like if you're trying to hold a gun, you're not
gonna do that.
Be like a marksman with it. You're
right.
You could like hold it, but you're not gonna be able to aim it.
Right, you're not gonna be able to actually do anything. So the thing was that Butch was on the couch, geeked out on that fucking powder, on that Mexican brownish shit. You know what I mean? Like some deep ass like shit. You know what I mean? So he was there, geeked out, and his sister Dawn killed the family. As he came out of his heroin haze, he caught her, and he tried to take the gun away from her and shot her. Now, people want to know why that conspiracy theory was valid. Well, he states, and his actual statement was, when I came to, I saw a hooded figure with black hands who handed me the gun. Now, the DEA agent, he was assigned to the DeFeo family. This is all real. You can look it up. There's case numbers for it and everything. I actually think I might post one of the case numbers here on the link. Maybe, I don't know. It goes back to the DEA agent. He was assigned to that house to see if there's any more drug activity. He remembers specifically seeing Dawn, and he could positively identify Dawn the night of the murder with black gloves on, a long black hoodie, and she was holding a rifle on her way into the house.
But it was demons.
He remembers specifically, but since that's not a crime, they couldn't do anything. It was the end of his shift. He left, and then the DeFeo family got murdered. There was other conspiracies that Don and Butch DeFeo had an incestuous relationship, and they were like fucking on the side. No one really can attest to that. No one really can positively confirm or deny that. They were like, no, they were close, but there was no like, I mean, to our knowledge, I guess, you know what I mean? So that's where the whole demon thing came from. The fact that he said hooded figure, people started saying it was hooded demon and hooded.
So what I'm gathering is the DEA agent, he got off the clock. The demon,
got on the clock.
Tapped in.
Yeah, he punched in.
Punched in and went in and
with his little pail of lunch and shit.
Demoned out. Yep.
He said, "I'll take over here, Chief. Thank you."
You're over here being like, "Oh, this is rational." I'm like, no. What do you know?
And that was what do I know?
I've read the book. I know. I've read the book.
Dude, there's a lot of people like that.
I know.
There's a lot of people
that's
like
how
that.
I know about it. Like, because the myth of what happened is not the same as what happened.
And what actually happened?
All.
Yeah, absolutely
because
not.
If you don't have the ghost or the demon or the dark entity in it, people, they're not listening.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I was listening, but like,
no,
I was trying
true.
to be them. Literally,
no, but it's true.
Guys, we have to be careful with this kind of story because this is what happens. All of you watching care more about the Amityville horror than
the actual murder of the DeFeo family.
Every single one.
And for me, like, for the fact that they made more movies, even though this DEA agent released a statement that said, hey, it was the fucking sister that I saw walk in, and the fact that it was kind of like, well, she's dead, so it doesn't matter anymore. We'll just let this poor dude rot in jail. Like, okay, I understand that he shot her. Okay, I get that. Yeah, if you want to keep him in jail for that, that's cool.
And maybe he's guilt feels horrible,
or
like,
maybe he is
feels-
guilty for some type of murder, one of them or multiple of them.
and he
but-
just doesn't know.
But listen to what happened. There's more to that story, and they're just dismissing it.
But book sales, Sean,
But book sales, fuck book
and
sales,
the
bro.
movies, like I've seen some of the movies. I'm not big on like the Conjuring movies or
Yeah.
like the Amityville. It's not my thing. I like scary movies. I like all that stuff. It just doesn't scare me, and I generally think this case, all of the extra stuff, I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. I
So
think so too.
for me, watching that movie, I'm going, this didn't happen.
Well, it's a
And
good piece of
fun movie.
entertainment, but
But to me, no, because of what actually happened behind it. I'm like, it's almost, it makes it more sad that these people, no one gives a shit.
yeah, no one really gave a shit.
They care about the movie, not the people. There's children.
And
There's
we-
a wife.
Yeah,
they're
and
dead.
they had a life, and they
Yeah.
had a life. They had all that, and a lot of people. Unfortunately, there's a lot of these inspired by real cases, things. Stop smiling on camera. That there's a lot of these like based on real life things that get overlooked because no one cares about the family. They just care about the situations that
Yeah.
happened afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And that's why you have to separate what DeFeo did or what he didn't do versus everything that came after, because it's a separate story. Same house,
Right.
separate story.
And if we're really talking about like the case in general, I think they also need to relook at over that police department's interrogation policies. How do you interrogate someone for 12 and a half hours straight, bro? Like at that point, anyone's gonna say anything just to get the fuck out of that room.
That's literally what happened.
With all their interrogation tactics, where they freeze out the room, they don't give you water, they don't give you food, you can't take a shit, you can't take a piss.
Bro, if they gave me a salad, I'd tell them whatever the hell they wanted. Just so I have to fucking
Salad.
eat.
You can have something to eat after 12 and a half hours, but it's vegan. Fuck it, all right.
Bro, I did it.
Look, all right, I did it. Just give me the mushroom burger.
It's like, hey man, we have you not even in the state. It was me, bro. Just don't make me eat this.
Just don't make me eat this, bro.
But that's a tragedy in itself.
Right.
The people making money off that tragedy. Well, it's almost like they're not making money off the tragedy.
No, they're making money off of the invented story from the tragedy.
Yeah, it's like a fairy tale within a fairy tale.
Yeah.
It's like a whole. Like you have to split it.
And the
there's
dude
one
who
here
really
and
and like the family who really got killed is looking at us like, what the fuck, guy? What do you mean?
not just that. Imagine the demon. He's like, hey,
I didn't
hey.
do this.
That's not me.
They blame a demon. He's like, wait the fuck a minute. Why me again?
It's just like a ghost in the house, and they're like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Like, you guys ruined it.
Yeah, you guys ruined it. Nah, fuck that. All the demons go on strike, a haunting strike.
Yeah, they're just
Nah, fuck
actually all in there, just like, no, this isn't fun anymore.
that. No, we're not even. We're getting credit for bullshit that's not even ours. I mean, appreciate it, but no. But yeah, it sucks that it degraded so far to have this made up story. Like obviously, it's right up our alley with murders, right up my alley. Paranormal, even fake paranormal is right up your alley. So that's why I thought this case would be fun. And it had an ending, not a happy one. Happy for the author and stuff. They got rich. So semi-happy ending. DeFeo died, but whatever. So did his family.
Like, imagine, I'm just thinking about him, like, if he didn't kill any of them, like, he didn't kill any of them, and he woke up, and everyone's like, hey, you killed your family, and he's like, but he doesn't know, like, because he,
And there was a lot of, like, in the beginning of the interrogation, that's what he was saying. That he didn't know. That he woke up and,
like,
this hooded figure was giving him the gun and he was like, wait, what the fuck? But my question is, how long was that DEA report out? And they just never brought it to light.
does that surprise you, though?
No, it doesn't really. It doesn't really. I don't
They
know why.
wanted it all wrapped up, that, they can't have a family murderer on the loose, so they just like, nah, it's him.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, she would have been dead, but then it would be like, oh, what happened? It was more complicated to do self-defense than it was to just be like, fuck it, he killed everybody.
Or they looked at the evidence, they're like, well, he did something. We don't know what, but we'll just, whatever.
Isn't that the case for every police? Well, you did something for sure. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Like, that's just, look what you did. Good job.
Look what you did, you little jerk.
I feel bad for the DA agent.
Sorry, I had a little Home Alone
No,
thing.
you're good. Like, he has to sit there and know what happened, and then he has to like, not this isn't real, like,
Yeah.
and he has to sit there. No one listen to me.
I can just see him sitting in front of the TV. I filed paperwork. I don't know. Just,
Bro,
I did my job.
I hope he at least gets like some of the money for the movies. And
Of
shit.
course not. Why would they give it to him?
I know, but
They
like,
didn't even file his report, my guy.
He's the only guy that told the truth.
Until
And
like
he didn't
50
get
years
anything.
later.
Was it best laid plans or whatever? Like,
Dude, that's so funny, bro.
it's just, it's
The only one who actually did their job and filed a report
and
for
got
what happened
nothing.
and got nothing.
Nothing happened. And with
So
like
funny.
with all that, this is a good case because it has. You picked a good one. It has both of our things.
Yeah.
It's it my like. It has the horrible tragedy and then just the what people made it into.
Now, here's one of the things real quick because we're about to break down a little bit of scientific evidence because my search history is fucked and I'm going to get visited from the police tonight just because of the shit that I had to look up for this case. So we're going to talk about
It's
it.
not the Men in Black.
So at least it's not the Men in
That's
Black.
We're good. We're good.
But I'm going to get raided or something because of this case and I'm going to go through it because
I
I
have
didn't.
memory problems as it is. I don't need an entire day. Just boop.
Boop, gone.
Like, I've been a guy and then, oh shit.
Oh fuck. No. So I was looking up because a lot of the reason that people think it was like demonic as well is because there was no evidence of any neighbors or anything hearing anything that went on.
I did hear about
So
that.
that
I
is-
thought that was fake.
No. It's actually real. Nobody really heard anything.
Really?
Like there was
Okay.
there's no accounts of anybody hearing anything. Now, they measured the slug or they measured the gun and everything like that, right? So I did a little bit of an experiment on my own. No, I didn't kill anybody, but I did do research into the gun itself and the muzzle power. I Googled how much does a gun or that particular gun get muffled by decibel level if buried into a pillow. Probably not the best thing to Google, considering myself, but I found out that it drops at about 30 decibels. So the actual shot would be at 130 decibels, so it would drop it to 100 decibels. 130 decibels is only, you can only hear 130 decibels at about a 19 meter range.
Okay.
For people, oh, I'm sorry, not 19 meters, 6 meter range. 6 meter range, right? So for people who don't know the conversion, 6 meters is 19 and a half feet. So realistically, it's from your room to the driveway.
Okay.
How would you expect your neighbors to hear it? Now, I thought of the same thing. I was like, okay, well, maybe they didn't use pillows. They didn't find any pillows, right? So I kind of went back to Tombstone and heard that outlaws would bury their gun muzzle into the body of the person and shoot, and it would lower the decibel level. So I took a little hypothetical theory and Googled, hypothetically, if you buried a muzzle of this particular gun, how much would it actually drop it? It actually turns out that if you dropped it, you would actually significantly drop it by 35 to 40 decibel levels.
I kind of like that also helps the whole like demon thing, like the no one's hearing it, but also maybe they did, they just don't remember.
I don't think they heard it because it's not loud enough. Like even like if you go by concrete
I'm
facts,
trying to give it a rifle its due,
its own place.
like,
Yeah.
but like, what if you just don't remember? Because, I mean, depending on where they live, it might be a common thing.
And
to
not
hear-
and not only that, what would you hear? You'd hear a thunk. Anybody who's heard a thunk with the buried muzzle and everything like that, you're gonna think that it's nothing. That it's a thump in the house, or someone must have fallen, someone must have gotten in a car accident. Especially if it's in a more popular neighborhood. Ocean Avenue, I bet you it's by the beach.
Not even that. You don't have to go that far. Oh, great! The druggies are doing shit again.
I mean, if the areas have crackheads, yeah. Why would you?
Especially in that, like, if you
Right.
know about that,
Right.
You're like, oh god, here they go.
It's like going to a ghetto area and be like, have you heard shots? Yes, every day so far at fucking 3, 5, and 7 p.m. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I hear it every day.
like so where they don't
Notice
they
it.
don't even- yeah.
Yeah, and with the fact that you're calculating how far you can hear it, it makes sense that you wouldn't hear it, because if you think about it, that 6 foot radius on an average house, if you're in the living room and it only goes to the driveway,
that's nothing.
That's nothing. It almost doesn't even get outside your walls.
Yeah, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Benefit of the doubt.
But
Yeah, no, I get
it's,
you.
it's literally like you don't even have to go that far. It's like, oh great, cool. The freaking heroin addicts are shooting again.
Right, exactly. And they
Like-
and it was no like mystery that Butch DeFeo was a heroin addict and that he had problems with his families or anything like that. Like everyone knew it. It was very well known. So nobody was gonna take it seriously. That's why when people go, oh, that's a mystery. Well, then how did the fucking neighbors not hear it? It had to be like some satanic shit. No, it's just because it only goes 19 feet and no one paid attention enough to give a shit. Like that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that this was an interesting case. I thought it'd be something that we could kind of get into and crack open and see it on the logical side rather than all this other shit.
I like that you went trying to like you're trying to go scientifically, but I have to emphasize again, no one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares. Like
it sucks, but it's really true. If you look into this case just a slightly bit more, the murders itself have no consistency.
It just no one cares. The cops clearly didn't care.
Yeah.
They had a DEA agent say, "Hey, I literally saw this."
No one cares. And you had two of the world's most prominent like psychic researchers and ghost hunters say this is probably a load of shit.
They didn't care.
And they didn't care either.
So why should you?
And it's funny because they were more focused about like if it was demon, they were more focused on like, have you heard any names? Have you heard anything? And they were like, no. It's like, okay, so it's not even that. So either way.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's a good way to call it because
yeah, I think we've covered everything so far.
Sadly, I think we've talked about it more
than the police did.
Yeah, they're like, it was him. And he's like,
bruh. Just in there, homie. You mean? Yeah, dude, probably.
Yeah, I think this is a good way to call it. Well, as always, we'll see you on the road.
See you guys.